Episode 91 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my dear viewers of the Interpretation Station. This is a special episode for those of you speaking Spanish. We are back in the world famous, but perhaps slightly forgotten recently, Wham Bam Thank You Land format. So this is going to be a quickie for you guys, all right? I've got a statement for you by Cuba. I do like doing the Cuban statements. They're always very entertaining, very good vocabulary, very exciting. This is one I put up on the LinkedIn group months ago. I mean, the actual statement is dated the 10th of February 2021. So yeah, almost 8 months ago. It was from the Human Rights Council Intersessional meeting on the prevention of genocide. Now, I originally put this document up, as I annotated it. You see, you can see there. Can you see there the red writing? So, I mean, if you scroll back down through the annals, I said, of the LinkedIn group, the Interpretation Station LinkedIn group, you will eventually find it. But anyway, we're going to go through it today. I'm going to refresh my own memory a little bit and take you through the solutions that I gave you on paper and see what I wrote. So, and yes, in true Wham Bam style, less of the idle chit chat, and let us get straight to work. And again, by the way, just before I start, it has been pointed out to me that in recent episodes, as I say, doing the episodes, I do bounce a lot. Okay, guys, I know this is not some weird sexual fetish. I want to make that clear. Again, it's my Pilates ball. I have a dodgy back. L5, and so I was advised when sitting to. I was told that the Pilates ball was very good for your back. Therefore, I need to sit on it and bounce away. But anyway, I'm not here to give you medical advice. I'm sure you can go and watch Dr. Oz if you want that sort of thing. I'm here to, shall we say, assuage any translating or interpreting infirmities that you may have and help them develop and grow and heal. So with that, let's see what Cuba had to say about the cheerful subject of the prevention of genocide. And as ever, at the end of the statement, I will be doing a quick run through of it, a quick translation, interpretation, whatever, as you know, how I would do it if I was sort of in the booth, you know, replicating booth conditions, as it were. And I will, of course, leave all the relevant links to the original audio. Hopefully, I can find it. That's if I can find it. I should be able to find it. And the document in the description box below. By the way, before we start going into the episode, just do me a favor, guys, and just quickly subscribe if you haven't done already, and share and link. That way I don't have to remember to say it at the end of the show. That'd be very kind of you. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. This was a statement by Juan Antonio Quintanilla Roman, the permanent representative of Cuba in Geneva, Intersessional, Reunión entre Periodos de Sesiones, Intersessional period of the Human Rights Council, prevention of genocide. So, okay, so here we go. The first thing that it's always good just to remind you of these kinds of straightforward words. Look, you know, he says, agradezco la convocatoria y organización. I mean, okay, I mean, you don't need to, if you're going fast, if you're under pressure, just say the convening of this meeting. I don't think you need to say the convening and organizations. You know, you can say the convening, also like to say the summoning of this meeting, or you can just say the organization of this meeting. That would pass. It's not great, but okay. Coincidimos con muchas de las ideas planteadas. So coincidimos just means we agree. Okay, we concur if you want to take it a notch higher. And I've deleted in general because it's not really necessary. And again, I'm just looking here in terms of the guy speaking very fast and you trimming it down to the bare minimum of words needed to get his message across. And I've done something similar here. Prevención de la ocurrencia de actos de genocidio. You don't really need to say the de la ocurrencia. You can just talk about the prevention of acts of genocide. Really, you need to say prevention of the occurrence of acts of genocide. No. So just use your common sense and remember that you don't always have to render every word when interpreting a text. Ok, son objetivos que Cuba ha compartido y defendido siempre. Okay, I'm going to try my Cuban accent. I do like the Caribbean Spanish accent. Defendido siempre. So yeah, I've given you here advocated. So another idea that came to mind was champion, that Cuba has advocated, championed always. Again, here, compartido y defendido, you could perhaps drop one of them again if you were going very fast. Usually compartido, I say share, you know, it gets shared and always advocated. Hemos insistido en que estos esfuerzos deben. I thought you got to drop the S, right, when you're speaking like Caribbean Spanish. You got to drop the S at the end. Hang on. También hemos insistido. Insistido. Insistido, stress. Okay. You can say stress, or I think it sounds a bit more natural in English to say stress rather than insist. Contribuir a fortalecer los propósitos y principios. Okay, contribuir again, you know, just you can say to help. You don't need to say contribute. Help is just as good, okay? Fortalecer, to bolster, to strengthen. Another one that came to me the other day, to firm up, as something just slightly different to go with. And this is important language from the UN Charter, okay, when they talk about los propósitos y principios, the purposes and principles. So that's taken directly from the Charter. So if you're going to be doing a UN text, be it working there or in an exam, know that expression, that set expression, propósitos y principios. De la Carta de las. Okay, so again, I've crossed that de las Naciones Unidas because you're in the UN, everyone knows what they're talking about here. So again, it's another thing. The Charter, everyone knows when you're in the UN, there is only one charter, you know, in play. So in theory, you don't really have to say the United Nations bit. Okay. Resulta esencial atacar las causas profundas estructurales. It's key, essential, okay? You can say essential. Key is quicker to say, that's the reason. Causas profundas y estructurales, so we usually talk about the root causes or the structural causes. We also talk about the underlying causes. Again, that's another word you could use as a bit of as an alternative to root. Los poderosos. Los poderosos. This is an expression that the Cubans will use a lot, okay, imposed on the world by the powerful. So I've given you the powerful. It comes to me, see in English, perhaps, do we tend to talk maybe about, we tend to talk about the rich and powerful, right? This is just a general comment, okay, I'm just putting out there. We don't tend to talk about the powerful. You know, in English, we talk about the rich and powerful. So if you were really on the top of your game, feeling really confident and bold, you could say maybe the rich and powerful. Anyway, that's just a thought. Okay, now what have I got written here? So for this expression, nunca apoyaremos la manipulación que algunos promueven de la lucha contra el genocidio. By the way, when I do these episodes, okay, I know it's a serious topic sometimes that we're addressing. This is genocide. It's not, you know, a topic to be laughed about. I'm stepping away from the actual substance of the text. I just try and make my episodes a little bit, a bit of entertainment, a bit of a laugh. So I'm in no way denigrating anything that's ever said in these texts when they're touching the serious matter. I just think I should just make that absolutely clear. It's just to make the episode slightly a little bit more fun, and so that you can, maybe it's a bit easier to learn that way. It just makes it a little bit, I think, more entertaining than if I was just to read it in a complete lifeless monotone. Okay, so what I've written here is bad, clunky Spanish. You would realistically have little option but to ride with it. Yeah, so look, sometimes with text, not just Spanish, you know, all countries provide, this happens with all statements from time to time, where the syntax is a bit odd. So how would I mean you would realistically have little option but to ride with it? So you'd probably say something like, will never support the manipulation que algunos promueven, okay, that some promote with respect to combating genocide would be one way to do it. Also, when I hear the word manipulation, the collocation that always springs to mind for me is to resort. So perhaps we'll never support the manipulation that some resort to with respect to the struggle against genocide. A couple of ideas for you. Let's move on to the second page. So why are they resorting to the manipulation? Para hacer avanzar agendas injerencistas. Okay, so hacer avanzar, a good quick solution to that is to further. You can say to promote, I guess, but to further is a good alternative to that. And this is a very, again, when the Cubans speak, this, I mean, this is an important idea to be comfortable with. Agendas injerencistas, interventionist agendas. I mean, they're pointing the finger basically at the West, at the US, for sticking its nose in where it's not wanted. So the idea to be comfortable with that notion of interventionism, interventionist agendas. So again, I cross out here Senora Presidenta because again, if you're going fast, if it's bad sound, it's just redundant, this sort of thing, you're better off just recomposing yourself, getting ready for the next section. Okay, so then he talks about the blockade against his own country, so the economic, commercial, and financial blockade. So here I put 2 out of 3 should suffice. So again, under some circumstances, there's a good chance it might be via remote, and if he's going along pretty fast, which they do sometimes, with a big long string of adjectives, perhaps you can't always expect to get the full list. So sometimes something 2 out of 3 is always pretty good. And again here, por el gobierno de Estados Unidos. I think again, you could probably just actually skip saying the government, by the United States, by the US. I mean, I think that's implicit that when you say by the US, that it means the US government. So again, just sort of think outside the box sometimes, and just when it comes to deciding what things to trim. And I think again, same here, another string of adjectives: masiva, flagrante, sistematica. You could probably just drop one of those. I think you'd be fine. Todas las cubanas y cubanos. Okay, so the point here is he's saying all Cubans. Now, if you had the time, you say all Cubans, men and women. Perhaps, obviously, we don't have that in English, do we? In one word, we don't have. We have to say Cuban men and Cuban women. So I think you'd be within your rights to say all Cubans. I think that'll be fine. If you want to really get across the notion that it's of both genders, you could say all Cubans, men and women. A tenor de la convención para this is a long name to this convention, and here I say, and I think it's already, and it gets, I think in this meeting it was talked about quite a lot, and it's, I think you can just shorten it just to say the Convention Against Genocide. I mean, I think its full name is perhaps the Convention on the Prevention and Sanctioning of the Crime of Genocide. I'll just check. Actually, the full name of it is the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, but everyone pretty much knows it as the Convention Against Genocide, 1948. Okay. El bloqueo se ha recrudecido a niveles sin precedentes. Okay, has been ramped up, has been ratcheted up. That's a good idea, when talking about this kind of thing, upping, the pressure. Those are 2 good collocations to go with anything to do with the idea of pressure, ramping up, ratcheting up. En plena pandemia de COVID-19. Again, so here I put everyone knows what pandemic we're talking about. So this is it, like everyone knows what charter, as I said before, we all know what charter we're talking about. And again, here we certainly know what bloody pandemic we're talking about, don't we? Okay. So you can say in plena pandemia, in the midst of the pandemic, reforzando así su naturaleza criminal y genocida. Reforzando, so 2 good synonyms to know are compounding and exacerbating. They go nicely. They're good alternatives. aggravating. I think I prefer compounding and exacerbating. Know those two, okay? Now, what have I written here? Okay, Cuba representa el principal obstáculo. Represents, it just is. Okay, you don't need to say represents. This just is. And so here I've said you could just stress the word the. So that's an advantage we have in English, right? All languages have this with the intonation. That you, by really putting intonation on a specific word, you can basically, what I'm saying here is with, if you say is the obstacle, that when I say the, that basically takes care of the word main or the chief. It means I don't have to say it, you know, when you say that is the problem nowadays, the obstacle, and you know from that intonation that you are meaning the most important one. Okay. Again, just maybe it's easy if you just say generally the main obstacle, but I'm just saying if you're in a hurry again and you just want to get through it as quick as you can, you could do that. You could just put emphasis on the word the. Desarrollo económico y social, okay, I've just said socioeconomic here. Constituye, so this is similar to representa, just it is, okay? You don't need to say it constitutes, you can if you like, but again, La Carta de las Naciones Unidas, you don't need to, especially if you already said it before the UN Charter, you certainly don't need to do it a second time. Absoluto rechazo. Okay, so I'll give you a nice, I think the word repudiation by itself is strong enough to encapsulate the meaning of those two words, I would say. So that's a good word to have. You know, you've got rejection, which is sort of neutral, but repudiation of something is really strong without the need for any further adjective. Modify you don't without need for any further modifier. Is that the word I'm looking for? You grammar geeks out there, my knowledge of grammatical expressions isn't always the best. I think it's a modifier maybe. Now here's an interesting expression that's become very in vogue. That's very common in UN statements. Por quien quiera, contra quien quiera y donde quiera que se cometa. By whomsoever, against whomsoever, and wherever committed. So this, as I say, this is a good set phrase to know. Okay, by whomsoever, against whomsoever, and wherever. Okay, they do like this. The so. You could maybe say wheresoever committed. I don't know, but that's it's an expression that's used quite a bit for this kind of, when it comes to these kinds of crimes, for example, when any sort of human rights violations are committed. Okay, what do I put here then? This star, this asterisk. You could probably get away with saying entities, which would kill the two birds of individuals and organizations with one stone. Well, that sounds good advice to me. That's what I said back then. Seems good, yeah. That way you don't have to say individuals and organizations. I think entities covers both. It's always interesting to go back and look at your own stuff and see, was I right in using that? Maybe I could have said that maybe better. But I think I did. I think that was good. Que radican o operan en ese país. So radican. I think that's a word that perhaps sometimes trips me up. So I put it in just, you know, to remind myself, if nothing else, reside and operate in this country. Okay, last page. I'm again here, same as before. Okay, no tiene autoridad moral ni legal. I think 1 or 2 out of 2 should be okay. I think, yeah, perhaps 2 out of 2 would be even better. Moral or legal authority. Well, there you go. You see, you come back and see what stuff you've said. Perhaps it would be better if you got both. It's not that hard. Moral and legal, they're both pretty straightforward cognates. But anyway. Elaborar dichas listas. So again, for a word like elaborar, you want a good selection of synonyms, which should, under no circumstances, include the word to elaborate. We do not elaborate lists in the English language. We do not elaborate texts. We elaborate on ideas. Okay, we elaborate on concepts. So I've given you here develop, to draw up, okay, formulate if you want. Pues consecuencias y efectos. Okay, so I say here one should. Okay, you can't actually see it, but I did write. In fact, what did I write? One word should suffice. That's what I wrote. Okay, yeah, one word should suffice for consequences effectos. They are virtually the same, aren't they? And they say think words like impact. That there says should say impact. Ramifications, repercussions. Again, it's good to have a set of these words for that sort of concept. Okay, consequences, effects, impact, ramifications, repercussions. How many more do you want? Okay, so I'm gonna, having gone through it now, I'm gonna whiz through that now quickly as if I was interpreting to see how I would do it. If I make mistakes, I make mistakes. I'm gonna try and do it, do it as I see it. Interpreters do make mistakes, but don't tell anyone. So that's our secret. So here we go. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go through it pretty fast. Okay. President, I want to thank you for convening this meeting. We concur with many of the ideas raised by the panelists. International efforts in preventing acts of genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, or crimes against humanity are goals that Cuba has shared and always championed. We have also stressed that these efforts should help bolster the purposes and principles of the Charter and international law, especially sovereign equality and self-determination. To prevent these crimes, it's key to address the root and structural causes of conflict, as well as the unjust international order foisted onto the world by the rich and powerful and their dangerous custom of interfering in the affairs of other countries and regions for geopolitical interests. We'll never support the manipulation that some would resort to with respect to the struggle against genocide and other crimes to further interventionist agendas, concepts, doctrines which are bereft of international consensus. The economic, commercial, financial blockade imposed by the US against Cuba for 6 decades is a massive, systematic, flagrant violation of the human rights of all Cubans and qualifies as an act of genocide under the Convention Against Genocide 1948. The blockade is an obstacle to international cooperation in all spheres, including the humanitarian. The blockade has been ramped up to unprecedented levels in the midst of the pandemic, thus compounding its criminal genocidal nature. This policy against Cuba is the obstacle to the economic, social development of our people. It's a flagrant violation of international law and the Charter. We reiterate our repudiation at the inclusion of Cuba on the State Department list of supposed state sponsors of terrorism. We reject terrorism in all its forms and manifestations by whomsoever, against whomsoever, and wherever committed. Cuba is a victim of terrorism, including state terrorism perpetrated by the US government or by entities residing and operating in that country with total impunity. The United States has neither the moral nor legal authority to be drawing up such lists, whose repercussions and impact on the Cuban people are also genocidal. I thank you, and I thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Like I said at the start, please do subscribe, sign up, and all that kind of thing. Join me on the LinkedIn group where I'm trying to post as many statements as I can these days. Anyone out working in New York, you enjoying the glitz and the glamour of the general debate in New York? That's what I used to do this time of year. I'd be there in New York, watching all the peacocks strut around, the little Napoleons. I do miss it a little bit. It was quite good fun, I must say, at the time. It's all a bit more sedate here in Geneva, where I am. They have the Human Rights Council going on there. It's not quite the glitz, the glamour, the red carpet. There's a few red carpets, to be fair. They had the Paraguayan foreign minister in town in Geneva yesterday. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be seeing you soon. Nothing left to say other than that episode 91 of the Interpretation Station Stands adjourned.